Hello, hello, hello. How we doing, everybody? Happy Sunday. Oh, we're looking a little. Let's try that again. How we doing? Getting a little bit of kickback. All right, try that. How's that? There we go. I think we're better now. All right, happy Sunday, everybody. Good. Nice to see you. If you are here, if you are live, then jump in the chat, say hello. I'm gonna put a little something in here. Excited to see you all. Let me know you're here. What's up, Bella? How we doing? Nice to see you. So, all right, different place. Can you see this? Look, I'm in a different place. Last few months, I've been at home. Today, I'm actually at Pepperdine University, and so beautiful Pepperdine. Looking outside, see the ocean right here. So I got to do a little session today for a group that asked me to work with them. So I did that, and now I'm here. Now I'm here. So look. Happy Sunday and happy April. Can you believe it? This is 4 months into 2024. So anyways, I'm excited to get started today. Hope you're doing well. And what I've been learning, let me just start here. So what I've been learning over these last couple of months is, not everybody's so busy, right? That I have a lot of people that reach out to me and say, I loved your message. I loved your book club. I wasn't able to be there live, but I got to see it. So I'm realizing that not everybody can be here live, but a lot of people are watching it on replay. So I love that. So whether you are, whether you're here live with me, whether you're watching on replay, I just appreciate the fact that you're here, the fact that you're willing to be a part of this book club. And as I said to you before, way back at the beginning of this year, when I started this book club, what I wanted to do was a couple of things. I wanted to bring a little bit of light to the book that I published back in 2023, and also really do a little deep dive into a couple of these max moments, because when you read the max moments, they're so powerful and so quick. A lot of them are only 2, 3, 4 pages long. So sometimes taking an opportunity to do a little bit more of a deeper dive into what the maximum actually is can just be another level of processing the information and seeing how you can apply it to your life. So anyways, I'm excited again to be here. And just like always, the plan is not for it to be too long. The plan is not for it to be like this, hour-long thing. I know we've got lots to do. And so really what I wanted to do is just, as I said, each month, pick one max moment, and we'll be on here for, 15 minutes or so, and we'll just do a little deep dive into one of these max moments. Now, what I will say is this before we get into this month's max moment. The last 3 months have been great. And what we've done is we've chosen one max moment from each of the sections. So the first month back in January, we chose the first max moment of the entire book. And that was from the section on vision, right? Everybody has to have a great vision. When I decided to write this book, I was like, how are we sequentially going to work it out? And if you remember, I know this is probably rehashing and just something that a lot of you probably already know, but I think it's important repetition and to really take it and apply it. You have to be able to recite it and do it over and over again. So anyways, so this is probably not new for a lot of you, but first thing, vision. You've got to have a great vision. So the first section of the book is all about vision. How do you have a great vision? How do you create the vision in your mind and the vision in your heart to be able to do the things that you want to do? So that was the first section. So January's max moment was based on vision. Then the second month, we delved into section 2 of the book, which was say, once you have a great vision, you have to have the right mindset, right? You have to have the right mindset to carry out that vision, to be able to make it a reality. So we chose a max moment from the second section of the book. And then January, February, then March, right? So March, that was the third month. And so the third section of the book, we decided to look at habits, right? So once you have a great vision, and then once you have the right mindset, then you need to then take the right actions, right? And you need to formulate the right habits to be able to move along the path towards what you want. And so section 3 of this book is all about habits, okay? So now that we're in April, so we're in month 4 of 2024, so we're going to dive into the 4th section of this book. And so once you have a great vision, once you have a great mindset, once you formulate the right habits and you start taking the right actions, what's going to happen, everybody? What is going to happen in life? And you already know the answer, right? Life is going to happen. You're going to get thrown a curveball. You're going to get off track. Adversity is going to hit. things aren't going to go your way. You're going to take a left turn, a right turn. You're going to hit a wall. You're going to hit a roadblock. Like, life is going to happen, right? So it's not if something's going to happen to you, it's when it happens, right? Let me say that again. It's not if something's going to happen to you, it's when it happens. All right. And I think that's a slight difference. We're shocked sometimes when life happens to us, when adversity hits, when pain and suffering, comes to us. Sometimes we're like a little shocked and we're like, this life isn't supposed to be that way. But ultimately, if we can understand that life will be what it will be, and ultimately there is going to come a time where life is going to hit us. We are going to get off course. There is going to be some form of adversity we're going to have to face. And when we do, section 4 of this book is about resilience. Okay. How do you find the resilience? How do you find the fortitude? How do you find the strength to be able to overcome all of that and stay on the path towards ultimately what you want, that vision that you have? Okay. Does that make sense, everybody? I hope it does. So that's sequentially how the book works. And then obviously there's a 5th section we'll get to next month. So this month, so for April, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have chosen one Max moment from this book that is all about resilience. So if you have your book, then I encourage you, and again, you don't need the book. If you don't have it, that's okay. I encourage you to get it though if you don't have it. But if you do have it, we're going to turn to page 157. Okay, page 157. And this Max moment is called Shipwrecked. Okay, it's called Shipwrecked. And I think I mentioned this before. So there's 42 Max moments in total in here. Okay, and my plan is to do one every month for the year of 2024. So we're going to cover 12 of the 42 Max moments that are in here. And so today we're going to look at section 4, resilience. Okay, and we're going to look at the Max moment called Shipwrecked. So again, if you haven't got it, then you can follow along. I'm going to read it. If you do have the book, then I encourage you to follow along. So again, page 157, it's called Shipwrecked. I love this one. This is one of my faves. This is a good one. It's a short one. It's a powerful one. It's a little story. And then I kind of get into a little bit about how to utilize this story. So here we go. So it says, there was once a shipwreck, and the lone survivor of this shipwreck found themselves washed up on a small deserted island. Okay. Now, being all alone, day after day, he prayed to God to rescue him. Okay. And every day he scanned the horizon for help, but no help ever came. Okay. So the days turned into weeks, and still his prayers were not answered. Physically and mentally, he was exhausted, and he eventually managed to build a little hut out of driftwood and palm leaves to protect himself from the elements, because he'd been so long out in the sun, the baking sun. And it's like, you know what? I need to figure out a way to kind of overcome this. So he managed to build a little hut out of driftwood and palm leaves to protect himself from the elements. Okay. Now, here we go. One day, after scavenging for food and water and going out onto the island looking for food and water, he arrived back to find his little hut in flames, with the smoke billowing into the sky above. Okay, just imagine that. Imagine walking up and seeing your hut just in complete flames. Crazy, right? So in that moment, he realized the very worst had happened. He lost everything, including his hope. Now, I just want to pause right there just for a second, okay? Again, whether you're here live with me or you're watching this on replay, think about this for a second. The reason I put this in, it says he lost everything, okay, including his hope. And I think that sometimes hope is, let me rephrase that. Hope, when you lose everything and you lose hope, that's the worst thing. So you can lose, material things and stuff like that. But when you lose your hope, when you lose that inner fire, that inner spirit, when you lose that hope, that's when you've really lost everything. So that's why I put this in here. He lost everything, including his hope, which is probably the worst thing of all. He was angry, grief-stricken, crying, shouting, God, how could you do this to me? How could you do this to me? So then day turned to night, and then early the next morning, he awakened by the sound of a ship that was approaching the island. And that ship had come to rescue him. Crazy, come to rescue him. Once aboard the ship, finally got on there. They'd saved him, okay? Once aboard the ship, he asked his rescuers, this is a miracle. This is an unbelievable miracle. How did you know I was here? How did you know? And they simply replied, We saw your smoke signal. Think about it. We saw your smoke signal. So then I go on to say in this maximum right here, isn't it easy for us to get discouraged when things go wrong in our lives, or when life doesn't go as we planned? Have you ever been there before, by the way? Have you ever kind of been in life where you're like, man, this sucks, it's not fair, life isn't going the way I planned, or you plan everything out like exactly how you want it to be, and you're like, this is how it's going to be, boom, 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 A, B, C, D, E, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't work out that way, right? And when it happens, that's easy. We get discouraged, right? It's easy for us to get discouraged when things go wrong in our lives or when life doesn't go as planned. And it's easy for us to lose hope. Go back to what I said. Hope. Sometimes we can lose material things or we can lose other things. But when we lose hope, okay, it's easy for us to lose hope in the midst of our pain and suffering. Now, what we can do when we feel shipwrecked in our life and our hut is burning down to the ground is to provide a reframe. And this is why I chose this max moment, okay? Because there's lots I could have chosen, but this is why I chose it, because the concept of the reframe, okay? So reframing is changing what something means by seeing it through a different frame of reference. So to do that means finding an empowering meaning no matter what happens in your life. Or put another way, finding a way to appreciate and be grateful for everything that happens in your life, even in the midst of the pain and suffering, even when your hut burns down to the ground, even when things don't go your way, even when you planned A, B, C, D, E to happen and you get to B and then you go off track. Like, how can you be grateful for everything, even in the midst of all of that? Okay. Now, that goes on. Can I say there's also something called a context reframe? Okay. Now, context reframing is seeing something in another context. For instance, a problem in one situation can actually be a benefit in another situation. So in the story, the burning hut, right, is a problem in one context because it burned to the ground and he did put all the effort in and all of a sudden, it just burned to the ground. But in the other context, it's actually a benefit because it saved his life. And it's the reason he saved his life, because of the smoke. So in one context, it was a problem, and in another context, it was a benefit. So last part right here. So remember, the next time your hut is burning to the ground, instead of giving up hope and being consumed by the pain and suffering, reframe it and give it context. Because what you think is a problem may actually be a smoke signal that God is placing in your life. You just haven't seen the benefit yet. I want you to sit on that just for a second. Let me say that again. The next time your hut is burning to the ground, the next time you face a problem, maybe you have a problem right now. Instead of giving up hope, instead of assuming that it's not going to work out the way you want it to, instead of going to plan B or plan C, instead of giving up hope and being consumed by all the pain and the suffering that you're feeling, reframe it and give it context. Because what you think is a problem may actually be a smoke signal that God is placing in your life so that you can experience something greater down the line. You just haven't seen the benefit yet. Does that make sense? If it does in the chat, just write, yes, that makes sense. Or give me a little something in the chat. Let me know. Okay. If that makes sense to you, put something in the chat. Let me know that makes sense. All right. So there we go. I like that. Good. Appreciate it. Thank you. So a couple of things. Again, I don't want to be too long with this. We'll go for a few more minutes. But first of all, is there something in your life right now? Okay, think about it. You don't have to, if it's too much to put in the chat or whatever, or if you're watching it on replay. But I want you to think about, what is something in your life right now that is a burden, something that is tough for you, something that's going on in your life that you're not sure what to do, or maybe there's, like say, that piece of adversity. And where we find that level of resilience is when we can give it a reframe and we can say, how is this helping me, not hurting me? How could this be helping me, not hurting me? How could this be making me better and not worse? How could this be pushing me forward towards what I want and not further away? How can this be helping me get closer to the goals that I have, the dreams, versus taking me further away? What it requires is a reframe. And now I didn't put in the book. Okay, and I didn't put in the book, but this is something, I think it's actually in one of the other Max moments. But what I would say is this idea of reframing, a great way, and this is why you're here in the book club, because this is something that you're going to get that somebody might not get from reading this book, is a powerful way to use reframing is to ask better questions. Okay, so what I mean by that is oftentimes when we're caught with something that we're not, we don't want in our life, there's a piece of adversity and something like that. Our general question is why me? Why do bad things always happen to me? We ask these disempowering questions. Okay, does that make sense? We ask these because of how we feel, because of the emotions that we feel in the moment. We ask these disempowering questions like, why me? Poor me. Why do bad things always happen to me? Okay, if you're that guy on that island and you show up to the island and your smoke and your hut's burning down, you're like, what? Why me? Why me, God? Why me? Poor me. Okay. That's a disempowering question, because whatever question you ask, you're going to get an answer to it. So if you ask a bad question, you're going to get a bad answer. If you ask a different disempowering question, you're going to get a disempowering answer. So then the key to reframing is to ask better questions. And one of the questions that I believe that has changed my life is to say, what else could this mean? So when we talk about the idea of reframing, what are we really saying is you have to ask a better question so that you can start to see it in a different way. So when you start to ask, instead of why me, you start to ask, what else could this mean? Then what you're starting to do is you're starting to train your mind to think of a different answer. And that's where that reframing comes from, because you're asking your mind to think for a different answer. Instead of going into the lack of hope and instead of going into poor me mode, you go into, how can I empower myself to think of a different version of what is actually happening? Like that smoke signal is actually going to help save me. Okay. That's a reframe. That's a context reframe. And how reframing comes about is by asking better questions. Okay. Does that make sense? So get in the chat if that makes sense. Let me know. Let me know if that makes sense. Okay. All right. And so anyways, I hope it does. I hope it does. And so then the questions, speaking of questions, okay, the action questions at the end that I always have, it says this. There's always an action question at the end of every Max moment. And it says, this is the action question. How can you use the concept of reframing to see things differently in your life? And that's kind of where I want to leave you with today, is just for you to think about, how can you use the concept of reframing? Whether you're an athlete, whether you're whatever, right? For family, whether it's with school, it can be anything in your life. I work with a lot of high performers, but it doesn't just have to be high performance. It could be any part of your life. How can you use the concept of reframing to empower you? How can you use the concept of reframing to find the things that you really want, like positive answers, like positivity? Okay. And so that is where I want to leave you with today. I hope it's been helpful. Again, I told you before, my plan is not to stay on here for too long. So we're coming up on almost 20 minutes. And I told myself that I would always make these short, concise, and powerful. So I hope that's been helpful. And as you go into these next few weeks, as you go into next week, as you go into the next few weeks, again, I bring it back up. How can you use the concept of reframing to see things differently in your life? If you just simply ask a better question, you'll get a better answer. And a great question to start with is, what else could this mean? The next thing that happens in your life that you don't want to happen to you, the next piece of adversity that you experience, put that in your back pocket. Have that question at the ready and ask yourself, what else could this mean? And I promise you, if you ask that question, you'll get a better answer, and you'll provide a reframe, and you'll help take yourself to the next level. And that's what this whole thing is about, is helping you live life to the max, to live life at the next level, and to make sure that ultimately you fulfill that promise to live your dreams and do the things that you want in this life. Because we've only got one shot at this thing. Life is short. And I want to make sure that each and every one of us live at that highest level possible. Okay. So listen, have a great Sunday. Again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. I know this is short, but if there's any follow-ups, if you ever want to talk more about those things, if you have follow-up questions, you can always reach out to me. You can reach out through social media. You can email me. You can go on my website, www.maxrook.com. And I'm always available for you. And I just, again, looking forward to the next month of this. But in the meantime, I'll be sending out lots more content, more Max moments coming up in the future. And I'm just excited to be able to provide value to you, and as you do for me, because the fact that you're here with me is the reason why I do this. So thank you for being here. I appreciate you. And all right, I'm seeing the chat light up a little bit, so I appreciate you. What else could this mean? Have a great week, and as always, choose to live life to the max. I'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye.